So you found a DM and some players, and you're about to go into your first session and play. Let's talk about that. Alright, so going to your first session can be really nerve-wracking if you're not going with a group of friends. If you're just going to Adventure League on your own, first time, it can be really nerve-wracking. Now, if you're going with a group of buddies, it's not so, you know everyone, it's not that big of a deal. But let's talk about playing the first session and getting into it, and some of my tips that I wish new players would know coming into playing a session for their first time. My first tip would be to arrive early. Not like an hour early, not even like 30 minutes, maybe like 15 minutes would be a good time to arrive early. Arriving early lets you kind of get yourself established, set up, talk to the DM, see if he needs any help setting up and stuff. And lets you get out, your papers, your Cheetos, your Mountain Dew to get ready to go. Now, I would advise when you first get there, don't bombard the DM with a bunch of questions. For that, because the DM has a lot to set up themselves. They have to set up their encounters, they're looking over their paper. If they're running, a published module, they're, making sure, they have everything highlighted, everything keynoted, ready to go. They're getting their dice, their calculator ready. They might be, you might show up and they're writing out their battle map. The last thing that the DM wants is this new player just question after question after question while they're trying to get set up. A lot of DMs won't mind you asking questions, but just make sure that the DM is ready to go and he's not still trying to, he's trying to scurry and get all this stuff ready while you're just throwing questions at him. So now, did you write your own character sheet, or have you not yet, or are you going to get a pre-made character sheet, just print it off and bring it in with you? Now, before you go into your first session, I would advise you having your character sheet ready to go. Either have it pre-made, printed off from the actual D&D website, or have it already written and done at home, ready to go. If it is already written and done and ready to go, whether you're playing Homebrew or Adventure League, I would ask your DM, hey, if you get a chance, can you double check this character sheet for me? It's my first time playing, just so that the DM can go over everything and make sure that everything works well. So you don't have, in all your ability scores is just all 18s and 17s and stuff. Because you might be, there's some things that you can get really confused about when you're creating your character for the first time. So if you're playing by yourself Adventure League, and you're kind of nervous about it, and people start showing up to the table, a good icebreaker would be, hey, what kind of race are you playing? What kind of class are you playing? Ask questions like, how long have you been playing D&D? What other tabletop games have you played? Just to kind of break the ice so you're not just sitting there with your character sheet and your pencil. It's all lined up straight. You got your miniature and your dice are all lined up. Just something to kind of break the ice, to kind of smooth into the transition of starting the game, learning who you're playing with, what class you're going to be playing with. The one thing I would advise if you're running a spellcaster is to write down your spells either on a separate sheet of notebook paper or on 3x5 cards to keep track of what's going on. If you don't have enough money to afford the official D&D spellcasting cards that they have. That way you're not flipping through the player's handbook, kind of eating up everyone's time, trying to figure out, well, let me just look up this one spell real quick, I kind of forget what it does. Instead, you'll have all that information right there, ready to go. Now, one thing that is really going to help the DM, especially being a new player, is time management is always an issue. You're having players sit there. I've had plenty of players, it gets to their turn and they're like, oh, what's going on? What's happening? Because they were texting on their phone the entire time everyone was taking their turns. Or they take 10 minutes trying to figure out, I don't really know if I should do that. They flip through their book, look at their feats, flip through their book, look at their skills, maybe some spells, and they're just taking up the entire time trying to figure out what they want to do in their 6-second, move. And that's another thing too, before everyone starts sitting down at the table, is to look at your sheet and kind of go over, oh, what spells do I have? What can I do here? What feats can I help out the party with? Kind of go over your skills and just kind of remind yourself what you have available. Because there's been plenty of times characters, at the end of the session, they'll be like, oh, I had the spell the entire time, that would have been fantastic to use in this situation, or a bard going, oh, I had heroism that, that bonus would have been nice to give to somebody. Yes, you walk in, get comfortable, have the DM look at your sheet, go over your own sheet, kind of get in mind, this is my character, this is what he's, this is how I want to roleplay him as, is he going to be, a stealthy rogue? Is he going to be a cunning? Is he going to be more of like a comedic rogue? So this one guy is taking like 10 minutes to take his turn, right? And it gets to you, it's your turn, what do you want to do? Now the best thing to prepare for that is to just listen. Be listening. Have open ears. Know what each player is doing, what they're doing on the map. When it gets to your turn, you could be like, I want to do this, this, and this. Boom, done, on to the next player. DM would love that if they got to a player and the player knew exactly what they wanted to do, they knocked it out, they rolled their dice, and they're done. They're finished, on to the next person. It goes so much more smoothly when all the players know what they want to do and they're engaged in the game than just on their phone. Oh, it's my turn? Okay, what's going on? And they look at the battle map, and then the DM has to tell this one player everything that just happened. If you have any questions during the game, during the session about your character, or an action that happened, or somebody, did something and you're like, wait a minute, I don't understand, how can he do this? That's the time, you can go ahead and ask the DM and be like, hey, how did he do that during the session? It's not that big of a deal during the game to ask questions. Just don't bombard the DM with questions. Don't rule check the DM either. Every word that he says, you're flipping through the player's handbook going, nope, it says right here, page 56, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. Don't be a rule lawyer. Don't do that. Nobody likes that. Players don't like that. DMs don't like that. If you have a question that you think is going to be like a long, lengthy one, go ahead and write that down. So at the end of the session, you can go and ask the DM, hey, this happened at this point in the game. I was wondering, why this is. Instead of taking up everyone's time during the table session with these long, lengthy questions. Now, at the end of the session, it's always nice to let the DM know what you enjoyed, and also bring up any of those questions that you might have had. DMs always like to hear feedback. It's always good, especially in a homebrew and even Adventure League. They always like to hear feedback of their delivery. If the players like the map, if the players like the story, what could the DM have done different? I mean, don't write a bunch of stuff down and give the DM, some essay at the end, like, this is what you could approve. Like, the DM's just going to be, just toss that out, and it's going to be really awkward for everyone. So, yeah, just, walk up to the DM and be like, hey, I really enjoyed this part of the section. I thought you did a great job, immersing everyone with this combat encounter and stuff. And, just give some praise, give back to the DM, because they're putting in a lot of work to be able to have players come and play. It's not just the prep time you see when you walk in there. It's the week and a half long prep time, or however much they've done in order to create this adventure for you and the players to play in. So that's really about it about playing your first adventure. I mean, the biggest thing is know your own character, know your limits, know what you can do, those extra little feats, maybe your background. If you're playing an Adventure League, don't forget to get your renown and keep track of your stuff on your adventure log sheet. Sit down at the table, get your dice ready to go, maybe build a couple dice towers while the guy is trying to figure out what to do in his player's handbook. And above all else, have a good time, enjoy yourself. I mean, that's always been the rule of D&D. Is as long as everyone's having fun, then just ride with it. So that's essentially, if you're having fun, then awesome, fantastic. That's great. Now, there has been a few occasions, not me personally, but things I've seen on the Facebook group that we have, where people feel uncomfortable during their first sessions. Not because they were nervous or unsure of what they were doing, but by the other players around them. Stuff that they were saying or the stuff that they were doing might have been a little bit immature or childish. The DM, might be just kind of odd and just uncomfortable. And those things will happen, especially if you're playing Adventure League. People you don't really know. If you're playing homebrew and all your buddies, of course you're going to know what to expect. But if you're meeting, a bunch of new people, some people just won't click. It just won't happen. And be ready for that. I mean, there might be a person with completely different, views outside of the game, religious, political, and they don't like dogs. I mean, that's gonna happen. So be prepared for that. That sometimes players, it might not even be you and another player. It might be these two players over here, or just don't like how the DM is DMing. Because these players are like, well, when we play with our DM, he doesn't, he lets us do this stuff. And that DM might be like, well, you're at my table. This is my session. We're not going to do it that way. They might butt heads. So I don't really see that often. That's not a normal thing that I have seen. Everyone usually goes there with the intent to have a great time, have fun, and play some D&D. So, but just keep that in the back of your mind. that may happen eventually, you know, at some point that may happen. But that's it for me, guys. If I've missed anything, go ahead and put it down in the comments and I can go into further explanation. If you're having some issues trying to come up with something for, you know, your first adventure, I don't know what character, let me know. We can get that all figured out. So that's going to be it for me. You guys have a good one, and I will see you next time.